There we go. Miss
Hi.
Sage Steele, what's happening?
Hi. Sorry for my tardiness. You see how wet my hair is? And had some kid drama this morning, and here we are. We're gonna pretend like it didn't happen.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to say this as platonically as possible. You have met my wife. I did my hair for you. So there we go.
Oh my
Usually,
gosh.
you know what I mean? It's like
You
I
have
usually,
great hair too. You need to rock that.
girl, I'll be rocking a hat, but I just figured, you know what? Sage is coming in. I'm gonna do it up. We had kid drama this
I'm
morning too, but I think it's a different kind of kid. We've got a farm and we got 8 baby boy goats that had to lose their manhood this morning, and that was part. So we had a
Oh,
little drama for them too. So it's
oh
been a big
my. No,
part of
this
it.
is a very different. No snipping, as far as I know, with my kid.
Okay, good. Okay, good. That's good. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for taking the time. It is an honor, man. We got these amazing ladies from around the world here that'll jump in too. But man, I'll tell you what, I get a text last November from our dear friend Tulsi Gabbard, and she says, hey, would you come meet us out at this farm, out here in North Carolina? And so we're like, sure, we'll get out there, we'll bring the family out there. And of course we get there
Yep.
and there's hundreds of people there. And I had zero idea that we were going to have anybody there at all. I see my friend Satema up rocking the stage and getting everybody all fired up, man, and go back and got to get introduced to you and of course to Danica. And man, I'll tell you what, I became a fan in that short amount of time we got to spend there, seeing how you show up in the way you treat people, seeing the fact that you in person is, it is everything you think somebody would be, seeing you on screen. So I appreciate
Oh,
that very much.
no, thank you. It was awesome to meet you and your wife and your kids. Like, that was a very emotional day for me. It actually changed me. And maybe we discuss that later. I won't jump ahead, but it was an incredible day that I'll never forget. And it has had a big effect, and mainly because of the people like you that I met.
How cool is that? I'd love to talk. And we want to talk all things Sage here, but I want to talk the real thing because you got a bunch of amazing, moms on here too, amazing wives, which I know, all of that you are a family person. So what when you say something changed you like that,
Yeah.
what was it about that? I'm sure the whole trip there were moments like that, but what was it like that for you?
Oh gosh. Well, Tulsi and I had become friends during the campaign, which is something I said I would never do. I'm staying away from politics in that way. Like, it is a death wish, like suicide wish is what people, it's like, oh, you must hate your life if you're in good. And it
Hmm.
just called me in other ways that are faith related too for me personally. But
Hmm.
so when Tulsi called that day and said, or the week before, and said, hey, will you come? We're going to Asheville, North Carolina, Buncombe County, and to spend some time there. And I was like, please, absolutely, yes, count me in. And I canceled whatever I could to make it happen because
Yeah.
I had from a distance, just been so like most normal humans, seeing what happened in North Carolina and how the people were allowed to suffer and continue to at this moment. I was like, what can I do? And you feel so helpless. And so to go and I mean, we had made 6 different stops. Where we met
Mm.
you, I believe, was the last stop. I
Yep.
think, I remember. And I got to just meet people at a diner, at a gas station, at where their home once stood on their property. And it was just so humbling. And it's amazing. They're so selfless, every single person that we met.
Mm.
And some of them just wanted to chat about something that had nothing to do with what was going on, right?
Oh.
Or a hug and to be seen and
Mm.
to know that they're not forgotten.
Yes,
And so
ma'am.
it was it was just a blessing to be able to experience that. And we had a little caravan going because it was hard to go to 6 different stops and then go meet an airplane to take us to Pittsburgh to meet President Trump at
Right.
his second to last rally in Pittsburgh, where Tulsi spoke, and Danica and I were supposed to speak, and then the timing got off, so we didn't speak, and then get on Trump's plane to go to Grand Rapids, Michigan for
That's
his
right.
last rally, which in 3 presidential campaigns now is always his last stop, Grand Rapids. He didn't start speaking until 12:45 in the morning. He didn't get off the stage till 2:05 a.m. Central Time. And then we all caravaned back to the plane and down to Palm Beach. We landed at 5:45 on election morning. And what happened on that plane and the stories and the moments were just incredible. But that was not as important, frankly, as what I experienced that day in Buncombe County. And I just, what as far as what changed me, I just feel like I've got to continue to look for something to do, to find, to put my efforts towards, my big mouth towards, that is helping others. And I've always had that in my heart, but to
Yeah.
see, like, to have an opportunity to go do that, and
Yeah.
to feel like you're making a difference just by spending 5 minutes with somebody, a stranger. And I have 3 kids in college this year, and so to be able to have them old enough to share my experiences too. But since then, people, I never had a desire for any work within politics, or, win or lose by President Trump, like in his administration. That was never my goal. But now I'm like, gosh, if something came up, because they're constantly evolving and adding positions and changing positions throughout the 4 years in office, all of them
Mm.
are. I'm like, if something comes up, maybe with FEMA, because I saw the devastation firsthand, obviously, and then to talk to the people who just wanted communication. And I'm like, I'm a communicator. That's what I've done for 30 years. Let me help
Right.
you continue to make things transparent. So this helping, the sense of wanting to help and give something, is what really changed me. And then a couple weeks later, I hired a crew on my own and just spent my own money to go up to Western Florida. I live in South Florida, but just because Florida is good at preparing for hurricanes doesn't mean they're immune from the damage.
That's
And
right.
because of what happened in North Carolina and Virginia and Tennessee, and nobody talked about Florida, and they were forgotten too. Like, you
Mm.
can prepare, but you can only do so much with the damage. So I spent a day or two up there talking to families there, and just put it on my YouTube channel with a Samaritan's Purse link, hoping that
Mhm.
people could find a safe way to donate, right? If you can't go hands-on, can we just show them a good way to donate? Because it's hard to trust. Does the American Red Cross use,
That's right.
100% of its funding? Like, it's hard to trust. So anyway, that was way too long of an answer.
That wasn't way too long of an
Continue to
answer.
try to find ways.
Bro.
It's that day in North Carolina.
I appreciate that so much. And that is, there's a couple of things that you're marrying right there. There's one, you're seeing, you recognize the humanity in so many humans. And that was, we came from California, and so we thought, we're like, all right, we're escaping all the earthquakes and the fires, and
Uh,
coming up here to the mountains of North Carolina. And there's no big natural disasters out here, and then we learned that we got the hurricanes here. And what you see though is, you saw the, as much as there was devastation and destruction, the sadness that comes from that, there was this beautiful humanity of so many people stepping up to help others and using the gifts that they had. What can I do to help you? And that, we saw that more than we saw, I don't know. I don't have any experience with FEMA, whether they were here, they were not. I didn't see anybody from that, but I saw a whole lot of North Carolinians getting out there and doing that work. And you're doing the same thing. You're talking about the gifts you have. That gift of communication is a gift. It's something you've obviously owned, but it's a gift, and you're using that to help other humans. So it's an amazing thing, man. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate
It
that
was a
very much.
blessing. And I wouldn't be here today talking to you without that day.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, so great. Talking about the communication, there's something that I really, really love. I've been listening to a couple of episodes. There's a show, you might have heard of it. It's called The Sage Steele Show. And you do a phenomenal job on there. And we got a couple
Thank
similar guests. I love, you had Mr. Gary Sinise on. Gary and I got to do a live event with Gary about 7 or 8 years ago, where I was keynoting, but he was bringing in the band. And it was this big, fundraiser for veterans. A phenomenal human being, just a phenomenal human being. How are you choosing the guests that you are bringing on those shows? How do you choose? Like, because when we look at what we do here with Apogee and get to bring in amazing people every single week, there is this humanity piece. We want the morals, the values. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for everybody to have the same opinion as us on every single thing. We're looking for those shared values, right? How are you choosing the guests for your show right now? You're doing a great job on there.
Thank you. Well, that's a great question, because that is evolving.
Okay.
Even 5 minutes ago, I'm trying to work on that.
Yeah.
Um, I started right at a year ago. My goodness, this week was a year ago. And Bill Maher hired me,
Yeah.
which was fascinating. We think very differently about a lot of things. I'm more
Sure.
conservative. He's very, very liberal. He's an atheist. I have a very strong faith. Like, we could not be more opposite. What I was so grateful for was his willingness to overlook that, as we all should. Are we human beings? And I've been preaching for years, since, before I left ESPN, my time there. and certainly since I left ESPN a year and a half ago, diversity of thought. And that's all I've ever wanted. And I demand it, actually. And if you don't want any part of that, then I have no desire to speak with you, actually, because I don't actually care how you vote, what you think, what you do. Like, I don't care. How do you
Mm,
treat people? And I mean, I'd say the majority of the people that I have in my life think differently than I do. And I don't care. I love them as humans, and that's what should matter. So for Bill to treat me like that, and I wasn't friends with him before, that was the
yeah.
blessing. They did all the booking at first with my approval on the guests. Some of them actually, a couple, we just are like, well, they were like, try this one. I'm like, really? And
Yeah.
and then we did it, and guess what? We had great conversations. So I had to
Yeah.
trust others where I'd always had to, worry about doing it on my own in other ways. And so my very first show that aired was with Dana White, the president of UFC. And that was actually an incredible interview if you guys are bored. We're so different. And he's such a great human who helps so many, and no one knows about that. They just pay attention to his outrageousness in some ways. And he's big and strong and talks fast and F-bombs. And it's like, his heart is huge. And that's what I wanted. That's what my goal is for my show. People who are willing to open up and be vulnerable and share their story. Because I
Wow.
have found that as I have shared mine through the years, in any way. I mean, 15, 20 years ago, just talking about race issues and being biracial. And I'm so proud of my mom and my dad, despite some parts of society saying I have to choose one. And starting with that, unfortunately, going through a divorce with 3 teenagers, my decision to stand up for myself and file a lawsuit against my employer, Disney and ESPN, devastated me. But like every time I've shared those moments, I have received so much back just from
Mm,
learning about other people. And when you're vulnerable, others are more willing to be vulnerable too. And when we all share our stories, others realize they're not alone. So my guests, I try to find people who will be willing to do that. It doesn't always work. Gary Sinise, I knew I'd met him. I co-hosted the National Memorial Day parade in DC. I don't know, it was 8 or 9 years ago, and he was there, of course, with Dean Cain, and
yeah.
got to meet him there. He didn't remember. I remembered him. And so I'm in Nashville a lot now, and I rent a studio there, and I'm like, Gary Sinise is in Nashville. Yes, please. John Rich, country music singer in Nashville,
Totally.
very opinionated. I love his courage to speak. So that's where I'm doing this week in DC. I have Megan McCain, and we
Very
have talked about a lot of things, and then others that are very aligned. She is a young mother, and is going through it, and we have so much alike, but I got 3 in college, and so we always have something that we can relate to if we shut our mouths and listen and
cool.
respect their stories and put politics aside.
Mm,
And so that's what I try to do, is choose people who are willing to speak. And every time I mean, I've learned so much about so many people. And long form interviews are kind of looked down upon right now. And because everybody's attention spans are so short. And before I left Bill Maher's group, I'm just on my own now. So I'll take any subscriptions and support that you can offer. It's free to
yes,
subscribe on
ma'am.
YouTube.
Dang
Thank you.
nice.
But I'm learning to be an entrepreneur. I've always worked for a network for 30 years. And so you just bow down to what everybody else says. And so now being on your own, it's like, oh gosh, scary and awesome. But like every time someone chooses to open up and share, like there's so many emotions, and I feel so honored that they trust me enough to do that and share with others. So I'm going to
Mm,
keep just trying to be diverse with it. I will say a lot of people say no. So there's a lot of people who
sure.
say no to me right now because they aren't in a place. Are we all still there? Are we frozen? I'm sorry. Are we
We
there?
are. You're frozen on the screen, but we've got
Are
you.
we
We can
there?
hear you. We can hear
Hello?
you. Can you hear
Are we?
us?
I hear you now. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Okay, we've got you. No, you're good.
Um,
You stayed with
I
us
was
volume wise, so you're good.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just going to say there are people who say no
Yeah.
and friends of mine, because they're afraid of how they will be perceived if they talk to me. Even though we don't even talk, like with Gary Sinise, I don't even think we talked politics. We talked about his son, who he lost at age 33 to cancer a year ago, and how that affected him and why he gives back to military veterans. Like that's what we talked about, not anything controversial. So I hope that people will continue to trust me just to have a good conversation. That's what we need in this country. And I'm not going to quit, even though they're like, you got to get to it, get to something controversial, clickbait. That's where the money comes. I'm like, I need the story, the personal side. And what comes with that, I can't really control, but we got to stop just clickbait, Oh,
Yep. Get back to the humanity of it all. Good for you. The bravery that you've shown just in your own career and speaking out and risking things, even with a family, and just speaking out for what was right and everything that happens, with ESPN, with Disney, with it, that same bravery, that's what you're taking into this entrepreneurial journey too. You will figure it out because you have that, and that does transfer over. And it's a beautiful thing. And that transfer of talking about diversity of thought too. I love the way you put that. And there's a few different areas where I'd love to hear what you think in terms of where we are, we being the collective society, however we want to frame it, on that diversity of thought thing. And there's a few different areas. One, somebody asked me not too long ago, like, well, how do you agree with Tulsi's politics on all this? I said, I've known Tulsi for a few years now. We've never spoken politics. We
Yeah.
we speak family, we speak values, we speak education, we speak, the spiritual journey. We'll speak about those things. So that's why we've always gotten along so well. It has nothing to do
Yeah.
with politics, right? And then we've spoken about those things. So education is a place where there's a lot of division that's put into place, and diversity of thought isn't always welcome. Politics and media, and you've seen both sides, traditional media and media now, and then in the church too, in the spiritual side, the diversity of thought. Like these are interesting things that are on their own and they align. I remember doing a live event with Dave Rubin, and we had this place lined up, and he and I both walked in the same time. And as we walked in, it was at a small Christian college in California. And they said, we may have to cancel this. We just realized Dave is a gay Jew. Our, this is not what we're here to talk about. We were here to talk about diversity of thought and conversation and talk to these college students, right? So it's so interesting. So if you don't mind, on the media side, the traditional media side, this independent media side, diversity of thought, you've already kind of talked about it on the independent side and what you're doing now. From that corporate side, are we going down the wrong direction? Do you see avenues of hope in there where you hope that can come back? Or is it going to be swayed towards, look, independent is our hope right now? What do you think on that?
Um, I'm a glass half full,
Yes, ma'am.
eternal optimist.
Yes, ma'am.
However,
Understood.
yeah, I gave up on traditional media a long time ago, even when I was there, and would have heated conversations sometimes with bosses and some producers, mainly bosses, just about what are we doing here? Why are we only telling half the story? For the most part, there were incredible people at ESPN, but any big company, there's going to be stuff. Just, I think the trust has been lost, and focusing just on news and all the networks,
Yeah.
um, this type of format and platform and the independence and the Dave Rubins of the world or Megan Kelly's or Bill Maher's, any of them, like
Mm.
people have flocked to them for a reason because they lost trust. And it's just been so blatant, and who's been in bed with whom to report the certain stories. I mean, and it's both sides, So I think it will never get back to where it was, put it that way. And in the meantime, you see the success, and look at Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
And then real quick on that, remember when Donald Trump went on Rogan's show towards the end of the campaign, and there were 1 million downloads per hour for the first 30 hours. But then
Unreal.
within a couple of hours, YouTube saw what was happening, and what'd they do? Like all of a sudden you couldn't find Joe Rogan's podcast. They were hiding it. And so you're like, oh my gosh, just give people the choice.
Mm.
Trust us to choose what we need. Give us the truth and then
Mm.
let us choose. And they refuse to do it. And no one's held them accountable. Look what Mark Zuckerberg came out, and he's basically acknowledged things. He admitted, and there was election interference on his platform, and meaning only letting certain posts go through. I mean, as in millions, for years. So I'm glad that they've all of a sudden had a reckoning and come back and said, yeah, we'll do it differently now. Did you know at inauguration when it was Zuckerberg and Bezos and look at Elon Musk now? Like, just give us Americans the truth, and then allow us to read what we want, believe what we want,
Mm.
um, and freedom of speech. You can't pick and choose.
Right.
So I say it's probably gone. The traditional media, the credibility, but that's okay because now
Yeah.
we have so many other people who are willing also to have conversations and are fearless. So I like this. It takes courage for all those people who I mentioned who are having incredible success. It takes sacrifice and pushing through when you have a family, it's like, okay, I got to stick to the corporate media and the job. And I'll like for me, and I'll keep my mouth shut. Okay, fine, fine, fine. You're going to fire me if I say this. Okay, never mind. Like the fear is real.
Sure.
So I just encourage people to go out and find what they like and what they appreciate, even if it's something that you and I don't. That's your right. But I don't trust the media. I'm sorry.
I mean, I would tend to agree, and I very much appreciate the stance on that. And as a father of two young ladies and a young man, and I know you are two girls and a boy as well, from
Yeah.
remember, right? So how, and this will be ladies, and I'm going to get you in here. I promise. I love this conversation so much, and I'm going to bring you ladies in right after this one too. As a parent, knowing what you know and watching the division that can take place, and you stepping into this space and having the courage to do these things, how do you raise courageous young individuals when they are coming up in this time where there is such a transition? You and I grew up and it wasn't necessarily as much division, the diversity of thought, like this just wasn't as much on the forefront as it is now. We didn't have obviously social media. Internet wasn't a thing until we were, high school or out of high school. And so how are you navigating that as a parent and leading them to pay attention and to go, okay, how do I decipher what I believe, what I don't, what's real, what's not? How are you leading from a parental aspect there?
Yeah, so hard. I don't know about any of you other parents out there, but I long for the days of
Yes,
when we
ma'am.
were kids. And I'm probably older than most people on this chat, but like I graduated from high school in 1990, and I follow something on Instagram, and it's reels from like the 80s and 90s, and you can see old videos after school. Kids are just sitting outside talking, listening to
Yeah.
music on their car speaker, pushing and shoving each other because boys are boys and girls braiding your hair. And in high school, even, it was just like we just talked. And so I show my kids those videos, and they're like, "It looks like it's 1920," and it's true that we're not going backwards. And I do think that there are some benefits of social media. But with my daughter, my oldest will be 23 in May. So 23, my son's 21, and my youngest will be 19 in like 2 weeks. And I just, quite often it's more of your actions versus your words because they don't listen to us. They don't want to hear us, right? Needless to say, my actions have spoken volumes and have
Yeah.
affected them. I think now they see what they understand more why I sued my employer, for instance, and all the First Amendment stuff. Um, and uh, what my hope was and is with them is that they just don't take as long as I did to have the belief in myself and the courage to stand up for what's right.
Mhm.
Um, it breaks my heart in many ways that I was so scared for so long. And I've told them that the night before my lawsuit dropped, which was April 28th, 2022. Goodness. I went to all three of my kids separately. One of them was already in college. Actually, I'm on campus where the older two are right now at High Point University. I'm speaking
Oh, how
tonight
cool.
in North Carolina. Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Um,
You're back in the state.
and I called Quinn, and she was like, okay. And each kid, my goal was to say, listen, I know what's coming your way, and it's going to be tough. I don't want you to feel the need to stand up for me or defend your mom. If someone says something to you, simply remind them that everybody has the right to their own opinion, and diversity of thought is the most important thing that we have. And so don't defend me if you don't want to. And if a coach or a parent or a teacher or a friend says something to you, which they had, adults had teachers had come up to my kids in high school and said, well, your mom, da da da. And that's when Mama Bear comes out and I will crush you. So I'm like, if anybody says something to you, just remind them that this is America and it's diversity of thought. But you don't have to agree with me. All three kids reacted differently. My son is in the middle of my two crazy daughters. I was in tears and I just said, I'm sorry for what's to come. but I have to do this, buddy. This is wrong how I've been treated, and I'm not the only one. And I said, I'm sorry ahead of time. And he put down what he was doing. He looked at me and he goes, Mom, it's about time you stood up for yourself.
Oh, my man.
And at that moment, I realized that I cry every time I say this, my attempt to protect them was teaching them the wrong thing.
Mm,
And so for my son, who was 17 at the time,
mm,
to say it's about time, I was like, oh my gosh. So it's little old me,
mm.
and alone, besides my mom, dad, and my kids. I was married, divorced now, but like he was a stay-at-home dad. Every penny has been on my shoulders to support the five of us. He still, doesn't work. Don't get me started. I'll have to pull my wine
Oh,
out.
sure.
But like the pressure was literally on me in every way. So that's another reason why I stayed silent, right? Because, oh my God, I can't afford to lose this job. I got to pay everybody. But I have three kids in college now. Like I got to, and I realized that I had been showing them the wrong thing. And so as little old me takes on, it's David versus Goliath. Disney, they could bleed me dry in 5 minutes. I knew though that no matter what happened, beginning that very next day when the lawsuit dropped, even if I lost, I was gonna win
Right.
because my kids saw that I finally stood up. And so I just have tried to remind myself of that whenever I've gotten a little scared since then, and certainly during the process, because from the moment the lawsuit dropped until my settlement when I left was 16 months. So I was still on TV every single day for the company that I was doing that had treated me like crap. And so 22 months from when the incident began and I was suspended in 16 months. And it was a very long time every day going in anyway and performing and doing my job that I loved. While in the back of my head, I knew they were trying to crush me at the same time. It was crazy. But now my kids know um, that we can't afford to be quiet if
Right.
something is happening that's not right. And I now realize, and I don't think I realized how far my voice could travel because for me it was just I love my job and I'm doing it. And I said when I was 11 I wanted to be on ESPN and I was doing it. And when I was 11 in 1983, 84, there were no girls doing this. So it was a crazy, impossible dream that somehow this shy kid, I believe it or not, I was super shy, achieved. And so then you just shut up and it's like, just be grateful. You can be grateful and strong and
That's right.
not, excuse my language, but not bend over and take it when they come
Right.
after you because they believe you're weak.
Mm,
So I just think that what I've done has carried more weight than what I've said to them. And that includes with my marriage,
sure.
where as a mother with daughters and a son, but with daughters, um, I'm Catholic. I did not, divorce was not an option. There's been a lot of the process to get to where I am today. But like,
Mm,
what would I have told my daughters and my son if they knew it wasn't right? And
right.
people change, and if you don't change in this, not in the same way but just along with each other as we both grow and evolve, it's not going to work. And so what I've told my daughters to just suck it up and stay married and do that because of what society says or your own guilt or whatever it is. What would I have told my children? And so I had to follow that as well. So needless to say, the book is underway, and I don't know if I'll ever finish
Okay.
it because there's so much to say. And
Sure.
my only reason that I know I have to keep speaking out is because I said this to my kids, don't waste my pain. And by the way,
Mm,
it's not pain. Like I have perspective. I have a
mm,
home. I have my health. I have my parents. I have friends. I have, I don't have to worry about paying my mortgage. You know what I mean? What happened
mm,
in North Carolina? I am so blessed and fortunate in so many ways. And we all have stuff, right? And I said, if you waste what you're seeing that I have gone through, it's been for nothing. Please use this and be better and make
mm,
better decisions and don't doubt yourself for as long as I did. So I know now, not just my three kids, but anyone who will listen, take what
mm.
I have learned being silent for way too long, whether it's in the PTO meeting with neighbors who say stuff at the salon or on social media, whatever it is, do what's right for you and don't be fearful because the fear gobbled me up until I couldn't take it anymore. And now here we are.
Girl, no better gift, no better education that you could have given your children than stepping into that. I mean, truly, right? What a blessing. What a blessing that is right
My
there.
poor parents have like ulcers because of me.
I
Even though
bet.
I'm 50 years old, they're like, you're still their kid. My mom's like, and
Uh-huh.
she honestly, Matt, she would see comments, thousands of comments on
Yeah,
my Instagram or Facebook, and she would say, "Mom," or she's like, "Sage, please delete them. Please delete them. This is awful." They call me, they call me racist. They call me all kinds of interesting things. They have threatened death on me. They threatened to rape my daughters. They have gone to the depths that are just beyond disgusting. And I'm one of so many women who have to deal with this, and men, but they come after us. It's fascinating. And women can be so awful to each other. That's why I'm so glad to see so many smiling faces here today. And it's like, I said to my mom, I'm like, Mom, if I delete those comments, it would make me feel better. But no, we cannot act like this isn't happening.
right.
And I want people to see that this is the truth. When you speak up, shit comes with it and it's painful.
That's right.
But now I'm like, bring it. You're just showing who you are. And I want the truth to be out there because there's a lot of bad, but I truly believe that there's so much more good, so many
Right.
more good people, sane people who don't spend time random comments on
That's right.
someone's Instagram.
That's right, girl. Gosh, man, light doesn't drown out the darkness. Light eliminates the darkness. And so not allowing ourselves to be that is a disservice to everybody. So gosh, man, I just want to flip and give you a big old dang hug.
I could use it.
All right, dang it. Hey, you're not that far. You're not that far away. All right, let's get some of these other beautiful ladies in here. Coach Witt.
So first of all, you answered my question about encouraging your kids. I have 4 in college and a 10-year-old. And I know
Wait,
they,
oh my God.
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
I know. Um, but they watch your actions more than they hear your words. I know that for sure. But I'm all about encouraging women and young women because that's the groups that I run to use their voice. And I know you've faced both applause and criticism in the public eye. How do you stay rooted in who you are? When everyone seems to have an opinion.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I talk to my mom and dad like twice a day. And it's like it doesn't matter how old you get. For me, you still need your mom or your dad or your aunt and uncle or whoever those people are for you. You still need them. And I'm an army brat. My dad was a military officer and we lived all over the world and it was humble, and it was just I don't know, like I was raised with such humility and to stand tall and be strong, but also just don't forget where you came from, And like back then, it didn't matter. Money didn't matter. Race didn't matter the way I grew up. So diverse in the military. It was this. And I just, I have the right parents who have reminded me of leading with kindness. Um, and yes, there have been times where I have wanted to lash out and have, you know? Um, but one thing my mom said to me, and it was right when I started at ESPN, it was that, again, the dream job. And I was on TV with a woman that it was rare at the time to have female co-hosts, like 2 women doing a sports center show. And I remember she was not nice. And I looked up to her for so many years, and that really was devastating. I was like, oh, don't meet your favorite person, right? And I got off air and I was driving home, and my mom, she said, this isn't about you. This is about her. She's reaching out and, hitting you that way to make herself feel better. And so that really changed me. And the more success you have, the more people come at you. And so in any field, right? And so when I see those comments and the ugliness, I just think, my goodness, that's kind of a them problem, not a me problem. And it's up to me whether or not I want to receive that and let that in. So shame on them, but like it's going to happen throughout your whole life. So that's up to me as to whether or not I want to take that. And the answer now is no. It was a major process to get to that point. It was years of it because I'm super sensitive and I get my feelings hurt a lot. But I also know that, gosh, I mean, I must be here for a reason. And sometimes when you get all the ugliness, it means you've hit a nerve. And what is that and why? You know, you can't always understand what a stranger is saying, but you believe in yourself, you know. And finally, I'll just say, my faith in God has never been stronger. It's gotten stronger as it's gotten harder. And I know that for me personally, I could have gone the other direction. A lot of people do. And whether it was, and it started with my personal stuff, you know, with the divorce. And so then that has guided me through the professional stuff and the ugliness there. I just, I don't know. I know I'm a good person, and I know I treat people well, no matter how much success I've had. And I think that that has allowed me to filter that other stuff out. And there's a real power in silence too. I finally figured that out, and to not respond. Because sometimes I used to go on and I'd be like, "Da, da, 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 no, this is what I meant. No, this is what I'm saying. No, here's it. Some people just want to fight. And I was like, that's on me for wasting my energy on someone who actually doesn't even care about me as a person, and more importantly, doesn't want to get to know me. It's a choice.
Man, that is spot on. And Coach, I
God
love.
bless you and your 5 kids. You might as well have 15. That's amazing with 4
Amazing.
kids.
So good. I'm actually, gosh, I'm looking. You reminded me of a quote that I had just downloaded too, and I'm not gonna be able to find it, so I'm not gonna waste everybody's time. But that understanding who is, you can still love humans and understand who is worth the time and the effort. And sometimes, look, the best way to fight back is just being silent. And it is, you don't think of that necessarily in fighting back, but it was a quote around, and I wish I could remember who it was, but it was around the fact that sometimes when you are indifferent to somebody, it says all that you needed to say. And so when somebody really doesn't espouse the ideals, and again, we can love all humans, but if they're really going to be attacking, to become indifferent to them is so much more of a
Yeah.
powerful stance than having to try to fight back sometimes. And
And you
there's
go back and forth, and then it's like, wait, I'm giving my energy to that person in front of a computer screen or my telephone.
losing my peace,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's exactly it. Good,
Yeah.
good question, Coach.
Choice.
Yeah. Oh, Mel, let's get you in here. Mel, are you on a walking treadmill right now?
I know. I'm so
You're on
impressed.
just a straight up regular You're in the gym right now.
Yeah, I wish I had a piece of paper because I think I would have needed to write down my thought
Yep.
many times. But
Sure.
let's see if I can articulate it.
Go.
So I'm not doing any podcasts, but listening to people on podcasts. There's always that thought or question about giving away the negativity to like social media and people making comments. So like you'll always hear like, oh, well, I'm not supposed to think this, or like I've gotten these negative feedback, and it's giving it away to this big thing out there that we don't even really understand, instead of like keeping it back at our community. And like I've even found myself actually saying it to like coworkers, oh, like, oh yeah, this isn't popular, or like this isn't what I'm supposed to think, but really I'm giving it away to something instead of just keeping it local and like going with it. And is there a way that we can take that out instead of like always saying that in podcasts and in like news stations and stuff?
What out?
Yeah.
Take out that thought, that saying of like, oh, I'm not supposed to think this, or people are being so negative, or like this isn't like, yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
So on are you talking about just like on a personal level where you're hearing and kind of getting the cultural sound bites and not absorbing those for yourself, for your own narrative?
Yeah, personally, but as well as on social media, because like I feel like I listen to Joe Rogan. He always was like, oh, keep this quiet, or like, don't say this, or like I've gotten negative feedback, even though he doesn't listen to, listen to things. He still ultimately says it. It's like,
Sure.
can we take that out, the social media like negativity, and just bring it back? Like, no, I'm good. This is my thoughts. This is what.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting psychological exercise. So yeah, I mean, in Sage, you're seeing it, quite a bit. You've got the comments, people making the comments. You have people that I'm sure are making amazingly positive comments as well too. But how do you filter that out so that it doesn't impact the way you start to see the world too?
The negative comments personally, like that come at me.
Yeah, and just kind of that feeling of, because I think what Melinda's saying too is like there's this feeling of almost this cultural feeling of division,
Mhm.
right? That's taking place, and a lot of people are saying, look, I know I've got a tribe here, but I also have to keep this quiet because there's here. Even when we're trying to look for the positive, there's this overwhelming thought, is I think is what she's saying, that there is negativity just around the corner, that now we're trying to hide from it, and so it's a weird cultural phenomenon, that can be taken on with that. So you're just talking about getting
Yeah,
out of that, getting out of your own head with that kind of stuff.
I do think it takes time.
Yeah.
It just takes time and almost practice of not reacting, not carrying it with you, you know? I mean, there's always um I don't know. I just think it piles up for me if I keep it quiet, you know? And why? Like the question is, why are you going to keep that quiet? To
Mhm.
avoid a confrontation potentially over here? Because it could affect your job. There's, fair things. Um, but it goes back to fear for me.
Hmm.
And I have said lately, and I don't know that this is actually the right mentality for me, but it's where I am. I I find myself very frustrated being around people who live in fear.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying it's fair. I'm just saying based on what I, went through personally and professionally, um, it's a choice.
Hmm. Yeah.
And when you choose to live in it, for example, you know, running, like, let's say you want to run a half marathon. But oh my gosh, the training and the fear, am I going to embarrass myself? And oh my gosh, how do I look right now in these leggings? Like all that. Okay, there's a reason why there's some fear there. Push through it. And on the other side, I guarantee you're going to be so proud that you pushed through that fear. Maybe it is just having a conversation with your brother who thinks very differently than you do, and keeping it in, you're always going to wonder. And then it's going to affect how you treat him and probably how he treats you. Have the conversation, know where you are, and no matter what, you never regret it. So I'm saying that with my business right now. I have some fear because I don't have a guaranteed salary like I've had my whole life to support everybody. But if I don't try this, you know, then
Right.
I'm going to always wonder and always regret it. And so there's obviously, if you are choosing to stay quiet in that level, like to defend yourself, I think you're going to regret that. If you're choosing to stay quiet, not out of fear, but out of like protecting yourself and your family, then I get that too. Just know that either way, there's some
Hmm.
negative that comes with it. Not trying, living in that fear, you're going to regret. There's going to be regret there. Not speaking up, not having the conversation. Sometimes there's regret there. And finally, on social media, again, like it's amazing to me how there is a current professional NBA head coach right now who is in my DMs every single day, sending me videos of why I'm wrong with my opinions on politics,
Hmm.
like every single day. And it's amazing how he's allowed to have an opinion and attack and come at me, but I'm not, you know?
Hmm.
And so, like at some point you have to make that decision. I've been really silent for a long time with him. And today I wrote him back. I'm like, you know, enough. So I don't know. I think we went all over with that answer. Melinda, and I'm sorry if I didn't directly answer it. It was similar to Whitney's, I think, in some ways, right? Where it's like editing and filtering some things out and then making decisions as to when you're not gonna stay silent anymore and you're not going to, because just like this coach that's stalking me right now, I use that term lightly, but he's crazy that he can't get me to agree with him. And I'm like, get a life. But like, we all have a right to have an opinion and to even speak up about it. And it seems like it's been one-sided for a very long time. And now I do think things are changing a little bit. And if we don't make sure and change that, that's on us. We can't only be around people who we agree with. And we cannot allow others who don't agree with us to crush us. And that's why I eventually took that stand.
I'm so glad you did. Yeah, and Mel, I think a lot of this, what she's talking about there is reframing. So even with that coach, you know, you can look at that as a negative interaction, or you can look at it as the positive of, look, Sage is speaking, she's speaking back out. That's a positive
Yeah, and
thing.
until he gets ugly, and then he got ugly, and now I'm like, okay, now I'm drawing a line.
And now I'm going to draw a line, and I can be indifferent if I'd like, and still regain that peace, right? It's that reframing. You know, one of my favorite quotes, Albert Camus says, "There's always a philosophy for a lack of courage." And really where that plays into, it's the majority of the time, it's us with the eloquent lies that we tell ourselves. And it's the things we tell ourselves that are based out of what Sage is talking about. It's based out of that fear. And so sometimes if we're willing to just go ahead and be brave enough to examine it and then step into a place of, well, what's the positive on this? You know, we can take control back and at least not be afraid and make a more rational decision. So yeah, it's hard. You got a lot of negativity coming at you, but it ends up being between here and here 9 times out of 10. Yeah, it's a good question, Mel.
Thank you, Mel.
Miss Caitlin, how are you?
Caitlin in the car.
I'm Caitlin in the car. I
That's
am
right.
so freaking pumped that you're here, Sage. You're such an inspiration. I'm a former college athlete, so just seeing a woman like you on ESPN in a male-dominated industry just kicking butt is so cool. So I just love that. But I'm curious on what that was like for you navigating just such a heavily male-dominated industry and being on ESPN. And then I'm mostly curious of where you're at right now. I know I've seen you post about the men in sports and where that's at for female athletes. So just anything new that's coming up for you or what you're doing with that right now.
Wow. Thank you. And thank you for your kind words about my, 16 and a half years at ESPN. And it evolved a lot during those years. I mean, I think we as a society did. And I mean, before then, because it took 11 years in other jobs, local, regional TV before I got to ESPN. And so when I first started off out of college in 95, it took me 5 years to get through college. I was always the only woman in the locker room, NBA, NFL, in the sports department. I was always the only one. And I knew that going in. It was like obvious, like this isn't a big thing. And I knew it was gonna be hard. But okay, get over it. This is your dream. Do you want it or not? Are you gonna be afraid? We're going back to the fear thing, you know? And I had, again, great parents who pushed me even when they were scared. They're like, no, women don't do this. And this is, people would be upset at this today and be offended. But at the time, my mom and dad were like, love this dream for you. You need to have a backup plan. Have you considered nursing? And which is an incredibly noble profession. I'm gonna tell you this, I don't have the brain power. I don't have the smarts. I'm not ripping on myself. I just know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. And I'm not smart enough to have gone to be a nurse. Thank goodness this sports thing worked out. But like back then, it was because women didn't do it. Did I have issues and instances? Absolutely. Less with the athletes, more with coworkers. And that was hard. And then when more and more women came into sports, the women who were there were just evil. I'm like, what? So we're complaining about the men, but then the women are worse to each other than the men could ever be. So that's something that I don't think we talk enough about. And the men, okay, fine, be better, but like, how are we with ourselves? So I kind of am harder on women because of my experiences and then witnessing it in other ways, and just have through the years just tried to help women realize like there's no room for that, and shame on you. And then look in the mirror before we go yelling at men to be better. So that's my little spiel that I will always stick with. But I will say that when I had my first kid in 2002, it was a very different time. And my male bosses were like, listen, you know, if you want to cover, I was covering the Baltimore Ravens at the time. And they're like, if you want to cover the team, you have to be there from day one of training camp. And that meant the day my daughter turned 8 weeks old, I had to be at work full time. And that was not just go to an office. It was 100 degrees, out on the field 2 a days with the football players, 14, 16-hour days, 100-degree weather, an hour and a half away. Like, so sometimes I gotta tell you, sometimes I get mad when all these men on paternity leave for months. I'm like, what? Like, stop it. Like, okay, be there for a couple of weeks, get your ass back to work. Like, we're the ones that need, sorry. But like,
Awesome.
the fact that I had to think about that in this male dominated industry. But what did I do, Caitlin? I was like, okay, I'll be there. And I look back and I'm like, oh, but we didn't have options then. So I'm so grateful things have changed. I'm so glad things have changed. But back then I was afraid to say no and thought I'm the woman, and they'll be like, see, this is why you just do it. So I'll never forget driving away on my daughter's 8-week birthday and pulled her dad had her in his hands and took her little hand and waved to me, and I pulled around the corner and sobbed, and I'll never forget that day. I think it's different now, and there's a lot more women involved and who have empathy for trying to balance career and kids. And so that was a turning point for me, obviously, with the kid thing, and realizing that it's different for me than it is for my male coworkers. So that's a choice. Do I continue on? Do I let them beat me? The competitiveness came out, and now I love seeing so many other women pushing through it. But it was definitely a challenge back in the day where we didn't have a voice, and it was like, do you want the job or not? Don't care if you just gave birth. With the men in sports, I think one of the things I saw a year or two ago, Megan Rapinoe, if you all know her, the soccer player, former, I start standing up, being louder and louder about just, this is nothing against the transgender community at all. Like, I hate it when people put you in that corner. I'm like, no, I can like be supportive of whatever anyone wants to do, how they want to live their life. I don't care. But protecting women is my priority here. I mean, I'm living in the sports world, and I'm part of all these groups of trying to uplift women and make sure that we have more highlights for women's basketball, not just men's, and uplifting young women and having those women shadow me for a day, not men, like trying. And now all of a sudden we're going to be silent. Like, just because I'm supporting women, it doesn't mean I'm against you. And that makes me mad. So Megan Rapinoe brought my name up and put me in a sentence with Martina Navratilova, Dave Chappelle, and me, saying how our stances on keeping transgender, biological men, I always mess it up, out of women's sports is inciting violence on the transgender community. That's what she said, by standing up for women. So that gets me hot, and she's full of it. And it's convenient that she has chosen to wait until she's retired and has her millions to now say that it's fine, because we all know that she would never have had the career she had. She would never have gotten out of high school on the varsity team had she been playing against men or boys. It's a fact. It doesn't mean we're less than. We have a lot more strengths in many ways than men do. We can do things they can't. And so, and stuff that Matt and every man I know is like, go for it. You are my hero. I don't want to have to deal with that, right?
Indeed.
I'm in menopause right now. Like, the shit we deal with, give me a break. So I'm like, it's just the most asinine topic ever. And I was born in 1972. That's when Title IX began. And I have seen, many of us have seen the fight that the Billie Jean Kings of the world, and so many people who've been through so much, what they sacrificed. And now that Billie Jean King and everybody is silent, I don't understand this. And it makes me crazy. And I refuse to be silent about this topic. It has cost me a lot of money. It has cost me friends. It has cost me a lot. And keep going. Take it, because I know that I'm right. And by the way, my girls are long past competitive sports. I got no horse in this race here, but it's about what's right and wrong. And it's been an honor to be part of it on a bigger level in Washington, D.C. And it was an honor to be there at the White House when President Trump signed the executive order to keep women's sports to women. There's still work to be done, and thank God for him. It's common sense. And there's still more work to be done in the NCAA level, because unfortunately, biological men are still allowed in women's spaces and in locker rooms, and to take scholarships from women too. So it's a great start by the administration with the executive order, but a lot more needs to be done. And I will fight anybody. I've never been in a fight in my life. I might physically fight somebody. I'm kidding. But like, that's how basic this is. And again, my kids see it and they're like, Mom, but you went on Fox News again? I was like, well, no one else will have me on. No one else will have me on to talk about it because they know I'm right, but they don't want to acknowledge, you know? So I'm sorry that you're embarrassed again. Am I right about this? Well, yeah. I go, okay, well then the conversation's over. And I have been given this gift and this platform, which could be gone tomorrow. So if I don't use it now, what a shame. And so I don't know what's next. I know that I've gotten to be very good friends with Riley Gaines. She is 24 years old. That kid has more courage in her pinky finger than I had until I was 45, you know? And and her eloquence, and she's lost, and she's been threatened, she's been scared. So many things, but what she is doing to encourage other women and men and fathers to speak up. I'm in awe of her, and I've learned so much from her, and I've gotten to meet so many of these athletes who had tough choices to make, and it's humbling because they've had the courage that it took me way too long to find. So we got to keep pounding on the NCAA, and I know that people don't like it, but keep going. I did see that at the new, and I forgot her title, the new head of the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, is a woman who I guess has a history of thinking, like the facts that women should play women's sports and not men. That'll be very interesting to see what happens after the last Olympics when we had, a man competing in boxing. And I couldn't even watch. So people need to get their feelings out of it and focus on the facts. And I'm going to keep fighting, even if it makes more people hate me or I lose more money, because this is as basic as it gets.
Woman after our own heart, we think, Kate.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes, just amazing. Thanks for using your platform that way. And Riley too, just phenomenal. I have 3 sons, so it's not for my daughters, but just being a former athlete too, and all the girls to come that might not get a chance to perform at that level because it's being just flooded with this right now.
That's right.
Yeah, and how hard that you had to work to get to where you were. And that's and they're like, well, it's only this percent. Okay, tell me what number's okay. Tell me what number's okay. And if it's one person, well, what about that? And he took 3rd place, and there's only 8. That means one girl didn't get that spot. What if that's your daughter? What if that's my daughter? What if that's my niece? Like, that's not fair. And it's not even about fairness. I mean, it is, but this is when all the people who said follow the science need to follow the science and not pick and choose. And that's when I'm out. That's when I'm like, okay, you're a hypocrite and you're actually lying to yourself and everybody else. Goodbye. That's when I get to see, now my blood pressure's up. This makes me great.
Yeah, it's about reality, man. Yeah, absolutely. Holy moly. I know I want to honor time. I know we're right at the hour mark. We got one more hand. Are you okay with one more outside?
Yeah, Holly.
You're awesome. Yeah, let's get you in here, Holly. There you are with a beautiful bag. Where the heck are you, girl?
I'm in Maine, so we're just getting a freak random snowstorm end of the season.
Oh my God.
But
You're
I'm
in Maine, and that's what it does all the time. So
no, it doesn't anymore.
I know, I'm just
but I was gonna say I'm in Maine, so we're all over the media right now.
Yes.
Because of the representative. We had a student that was allowed to participate in a women's sport, and then we have a representative who you should speak to. She was silenced. She was voted to be silenced by the House, which is crazy, because she shared a photo of this event. But I just wanted to say thank you for being a voice, continuing to be a voice, because I know it's not easy. I mean, even in Maine, we have quite a lot of divisiveness around the topic, and there's groups that are posting people's addresses and telling people to go after them if they're not in support because they're racist, bigots, all the titles that you've probably heard over and over, just because we want to keep men out of women's sports. It's wild. So I just wanted to say thank you for being a voice, but also, is there anything you would have done differently? Because you talk about the threats that your family received, which is horrifying. And, you talk about you have your parents to speak to in your faith, but is there anything from this that you would have done differently or that you regret, and things that you would say, if my daughter went through this, this is what I would do differently? Just curious.
I had a lot of regrets for a long time. And honestly, the only one that I can say that I regret is that it took me so long to believe in myself and to not live in fear. I keep going back to this fear thing because it guided me in every aspect of my life. And I firmly believe that I would not be here talking to you today if not for every single thing along the way, every single mistake, and I know it actually sounds cliche, but like my journey here, I get emotional talking about it because it had to happen exactly this way, and even, and again, I keep talking about the personal stuff, even with my marriage, and that like it had to be this way in order for me to say no. Like my heart does matter for me and for my kids, so then they can think a little differently before making any kind of decision. So I think I really want to be honest. And I am, though, like every single thing had to happen this way. That is part of my faith too. I would say that I waited too long to get help with some things, though. Even in college, like academically, I really struggled. I now know that I probably could have been diagnosed within 30 seconds with some ADD, HD, like it was a disaster. But I got through, I figured it out. Like that's one thing I always figure it out. It just takes me a little longer than some people. If people knew every day what it took me to get on TV to host a 2-hour live sports center every single day for all those years, like I can read an article 4 times and remember about 25% of it. And it just doesn't sink in. And so for years I thought I was stupid and all these things, and I was embarrassed. And so I didn't tell anyone about it. And so I just kept suffering and suffering and suffering through it. And it cost me a lot. It took me a 5th year of college. That was why, because I was too embarrassed to get help. And then with some, issues business wise, like I was like, no, I can do this. I can do it. I can do it. I don't need help. Right. And so in every way, I waited too long to get help and to just show my weakness in that way. And it certainly prolongs some things, and I guess that goes back to the fear of being judged, fear of looking weak, and then competitiveness. My competitiveness with myself has got me through everything. I just want my kids and anyone else who listen, as I say, don't waste my pain. Like, it's okay, and people talk about it now more with their mental health, right? It's okay to not be okay. Like that applies everywhere. So I wish I hadn't waited so long to reach out, because now that I have, and then I've spoken up about it, so many people have come to me and said, me too. And so then, gosh, how many more people could I have helped along the way, even, in a small setting where it isn't public? Because once we realize we're not alone, there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah.
So I just hope that people don't live with that fear and trying to please the world. Like, get the help, acknowledge your weaknesses, and celebrate your strengths. And my self-talk is pretty crappy, has been. And so that's definitely another genuine regret, that it's taken me so long to realize that the self-talk does matter. Now I can compartmentalize like the best of them, and I can think this crappy over here about myself, but then flip that switch, and when that light comes on, I now trust whatever's in this brain, even if I don't know exactly what's going to come out. I trust that it will be something that won't get me in too much trouble, will be the facts I do know and can somehow pull out of the air and say with clarity in front of millions of people. But see, now you made me go, and there's a lot of things I regret, Holly. Now you're making me say it out loud. You're like, I should hire you, like, to be my therapist. Right? But like, just being okay. I was a terrible pleaser. That was a disease that I'm still I'm not fully cured, but I'm getting there with that one. So just don't keep it. I think as women and men, we just try so hard to not burden other people too, and to keep it to yourself. And then it takes a toll. We can't do that. And oh, by the way, how do we know we're even here tomorrow?
That's right.
Like, why are we holding this stuff in?
That's right. That is right. There you go, Holly. What you think, girl?
No, thank you. Beautiful answer. I know it's a complicated.
So
I
good.
understood what you're saying as a mother. I get it. It's okay. There's a lot there, but thank you.
Oh, thank you. And see, Holly is the reason. Holly's background is the reason why I moved to the beach in South Florida. I lived in Connecticut at ESPN for
Ah.
17 years in Connecticut. And I'm like a loser wimp. And I'm going to send you a picture, Matt, to share with the group when I get home from
Yeah.
my beach view every morning because I'm a loser. I can't. Now, that's beautiful, Holly. But I'm just saying
Yeah.
it's almost April. Like, enough.
No,
Yeah.
it was 55. That's why I said it's not always like this. It was 55 the other day, and now we're getting 6 inches of snow. So you get
Oh.
it. You lived in New England. You get it.
I've been paroled. I'm out.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was a hot, balmy 55, Holly. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. Sage, you are man, you're a lady after our own heart, and I'm so grateful for you. I'm proud of you too, and just listening to this and seeing how you go through and stuff. I got something that I wanna send you, so I'm gonna shoot you a message later too, and I got something that I want to send your way that I think it'll be perfect, man. But I'm so dang grateful. So the final stuff here, where of course, as this goes out, where does everybody find you, find the show, and the most important thing to us, how do we as a community here with Apogee, how do we support you best? Those are the final questions here.
I mean, the show is on YouTube, it's just the Sage Steele show.
Highly recommended.
Thank you. I'm learning so much with it and just trying to have conversations, and everyone's a little bit different. And yeah, tell your friends, subscribe. But I just hope that how you can help me is by not living in fear. That might not affect me, but it could, like we've got to do that for each other. And I mean it with the don't waste my pain. Don't waste yours either. Share it, grow from it. And just to remember that we've got to lead with diversity of thought and kindness. I think in North Carolina, it's such a beautiful thing. I have one of my best friends is volunteering in Buncombe County right now, again, for like the 4th time with Samaritan's Purse. And that gives me such hope as to how much good there is. I've seen it, I feel it, I know it. And the selflessness of these people who have nothing are still living. I have a friend, my friend told me about someone, and they lost their home, completely gone, lost their animals. It's just parents and their kids. And they were given an RV to live in over the last several months. Well, the RV had a leak, a major leak, and now the RV is flooded and they literally don't have anything. And so, but what are they doing? They're talking about uplifting their neighbors. So let's get that message out, right? Of kindness and how we can do things. Sometimes, like, this is what I missed during COVID and the damn masking up. Like, smiles matter. And we couldn't see smiles for a long time. In the grocery store, you try to look at someone and smile, and it's like, well, they're squinting around the eyes. My wrinkles are showing for sure, so that maybe they see that I'm smiling. Like, I hope they do, because that matters. And I just think we got to lead with kindness in every aspect. Most do. Unfortunately, there's a very loud minority. And I think that we can shut them down, try to silence that by smiling and doing good things for each other and not living in fear.
Amen. You are leading that very way, my friend. So glad, so
you
grateful.
Tell my kids that. Will you tell them how cool I am, please?
Girl, I'll get on and I'll tell all 3 of them. You let me know anytime. I will let them know. And hey, guess
One
what?
in particular, I'll send you her number. You could punch her.
Dude, I will do it. I'll do it today. But guess what? I know this is a fact as much as I know anything else. They know. They know.
Deep down, I always say, when I'm gone, you're gonna realize how cool I was. And
they know.
like, just wait, just be nice. Yeah.
That's right. Oh, you're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
A million times over. Enjoy the time with the fam there. I do have something I want to send you, so I'll shoot you a message.
Okay.
I'll shoot you a message too, and just see wherever a good spot is to send you something. I got a few things I want to send your way too that I think will be great. I think timing is perfect for the way you're stepping in and leading in this world. So I'm excited to
Well,
get.
and thanks to everybody for logging on and listening to me talk for way too long, but I appreciate it. And Matt, what you're doing and leading and guiding, and as a husband and a father as well, it's beautiful. So I'm so glad we got to meet.
Thank you for that. Honor is absolutely mine, my friend. I'll reach out here shortly. Take these ladies through a little debrief right now, but we'll reach out soon.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the time with the family.
Thank you. God bless you guys.
You as well.